Arcana Prophetia is a competitive game centered around a fantasy tarot deck. Players use the cards to predict the world's final days. The game involves a conflict between the Fates and the Last Sovereign, with asymmetrical gameplay favoring the Fates initially. However, power dynamics shift as the game progresses. The Last Sovereign aims to alter fate through a desperate ritual. Welcome to my Kickstarter preview of Arcana Prophetia. Hey everyone, this is Sirthakas, and today I'm bringing you my preview of Arcana Prophetia. A big thanks to the Aerie Games for entrusting me with a prototype copy. I really appreciate it. Keep in mind that this is just a preview copy, so some of the rules and components may still change in the future. Before I will give you my review, I'll explain how the game is played. Feel free to use the timestamps to jump to the part you're interested in the most. Bonus points if you watch the entire video. The goal in Arcana Prophetia is to use a deck of 10 cards to determine the fate of the world. The Fates aim to corrupt these cards, while the Last Sovereign seeks to sanctify them. Throughout the game, players play one card per round until only one remains unplayed. This asymmetrical gameplay between two players creates a narrative-driven experience, with the Fates initially posing a significant threat and the Last Sovereign acting as the underdog. The Last Sovereign has the opportunity for a dramatic comeback, but the game is consistently challenging. To set up the two-player game Arcana Prophetia, use 10 Arcana cards, of which only 9 will be played, and a cloth playing mat called the Spread. Place the spread in the center of the playing space, with the text facing the player who chooses to play as the Last Sovereign. Take the 3 sigils, the Relic of the Dead God, and one of the sigil cards. For the first game, use the side that says Sigil of the Dead God. For completing the setup of your first few games, place the 3 tokens at these specific positions on the spread, and the card 6, the Errant on the corrupted side here, and the Relic of the Dead God right here. Finally, the Last Sovereign takes all the prediction tokens. This game does not have a dedicated starting player as we know it from other games, so unfortunately I will not be able to show you one of my unique methods of determining a starting player. But I'm sure this will happen in my next review again. Alright, now on to the gameplay of Arcana Prophetia. Arcana Prophetia consists of 9 rounds, each with 4 phases: Predict and Reveal, Place and Bind, Effects and Sigil, as well as Cleanup. In the Predict and Reveal phase, the Fates choose an unplayed Arcana card to corrupt, while the Last Sovereign predicts which card will be chosen. If the Last Sovereign's prediction matches the Fates card, it is successful. During the Place and Bind phase, the Fates place their chosen card on the spread. The card is placed on its corrupted side unless the Last Sovereign successfully predicted it, in which case it is placed on its sanctified side. Cards can only be placed in and moved to any space that is adjacent to a card already in the middle court, which is the middle row of the spread. So these positions would all work, but these definitely wouldn't. Sigils are collected by the Last Sovereign when a card is placed or moved onto a space containing a sigil, but if the sigil card is full, the sigil is discarded instead. Adjacent cards with a sum of 10 become bound and have restrictions based on the number of bound counters they have. As cards in Arcana Prophetia accumulate bound counters between them, their freedom of movement and flipping becomes increasingly restricted. When a card has 1 bound counter, it cannot be flipped. With 2 bound counters, flipping is still not allowed. Once a card has 3 bound counters, it not only cannot be flipped, but also cannot be moved. The only way to remove bound counters is by moving a card to a new space, which allows for discarding all bound counters on it. This can only be done if the card has a maximum of 2 bound counters on it. A card can have a maximum of 3 bound counters. Once it reaches this limit, it becomes immovable, remaining locked in its alignment and position for the remainder of the game. Managing bound counters strategically is crucial to control the positioning and possibilities of the cards on the playing mat. In the Effects and Sigil phase, the effects listed on the played cards are triggered. The corrupted effects always occur, controlled by the Fates, while the Last Sovereign only triggers the sanctified effects if they successfully predicted that card. Effects with the special keyword have irregular timings and may interrupt the resolution of other effects. Finally, in the cleanup phase, the following actions are performed. Bound counters are placed on pairs of cards that sum up to 10, except for pairs already having 3 bound counters. The last sovereign is required to move the relic of the dead god to an empty space on the spread, which means a space without a card or sigil. Check for card effects that trigger at the end of the round, often denoted as passive effects. These effects may resolve automatically or require control from either player. There are two more important concepts to understand: moving cards and corrupting, as well as sanctifying them. In Arcana Prophetia, when a card is moved or placed due to an effect, including sigils, it must adhere to the rule of ending its movement adjacent to a card already in the middle court. Therefore, moving a card to the high or low court is only possible after the corresponding middle court is filled. Two significant types of effects in the game are Sanctify and Corrupt. When you sanctify a card, you flip it to its sanctified side and trigger its sanctified effect, as if it were just played and successfully predicted. Conversely, when you corrupt a card, you flip it to its corrupted side and trigger its corrupted effect. It is important to note that you cannot sanctify an already sanctified card, and likewise you cannot corrupt an already corrupted card. Arcana Prophetia concludes after 9 rounds, when 9 out of the 10 cards have been placed on the spread. At the end of that round, the number of sanctified and corrupted cards on the spread is counted. If there are more sanctified cards, the last sovereign emerges as the victor. Conversely, if there are more corrupted cards, the fates claim the victory. The balance of sanctified and corrupted cards determines the outcome of the game. Arcana Prophetia can then be played with the full rule set that extends the game further. I will not go into detail, but those rules include more cards with different effects, the other side of the sigil cards, the choice of the starting arcana, and different placements of the sigils and relic tokens. Since this is a highly asymmetrical game, the difficulty can also be adjusted. Also, this is just a preview copy, so some of the rules and components may still change in the future. That is all you need to know to play this game. But what do I think about it? Well, let me tell you. I've got to say, this game has some pretty cool artwork. It's not quite my style, but it's objectively good art and fits the dark fantasy-like theme really well. The component quality is great, with really thick cards that almost feel like thin tiles, and nice cloth playmat and durable tiles. The rulebook is also well written and has a good layout. I love these components. The gameplay of Arcana Prophetia is quite unique. Predictions become easier as the game goes on and cards are played. The fates have an easier time at the beginning, but the last sovereign can catch up later on. It's a really nice dynamic that I haven't seen before, and it's refreshing to play a game with such a unique mechanism. The bound token in this game really increases the tension. Each round, the bounds become stronger, and if you don't move them within a few rounds, you won't be able to change their state. It's a small but significant detail that adds a lot to the game. One suggestion I have for the game is that it would benefit from a one-pager that lists all the cards included in the game. Currently, the last sovereign needs to look at all the cards to make their prediction, and then the fates need to look at all the cards to play one. With a one-pager, this would be streamlined a bit. Or just include each card twice, maybe? Yeah, this might be overkill, but it could possibly help. The game can definitely lead to analysis paralysis, since you really need to check out all the cards and play to either predict your opponent's play or think of which cards to play. The game is a bit too static for my liking, with extremely limited actions. The fates can only place cards, and the last sovereign can only move or sanctify cards up to 3 times in the entire game. Yes, I do understand that this is the intent of the game, to increase the tension and make each decision count, but if you're making only wrong predictions as the last sovereign, you won't be able to turn the tide. All in all, I enjoyed checking out Arcana Prophetia for this review. The artwork and component quality are great, and the gameplay is definitely unique. However, it feels a bit static to me. Would I recommend the game? Well, that depends on whether you like the gameplay being centered around predicting your opponent's moves. If you don't, this might not be the right game for you. But if you do, I suggest you check out the Kickstarter campaign. You'll find the link in this video's description as usual. Congratulations, you made it to the end of my review of the game Arcana Prophetia. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for your support. That means the world to me. I especially want to thank my patrons who are generously supporting me on Patreon. The biggest thanks go out to Thakono, who is currently my biggest supporter. Thank you so much for that. If you would like to support me as well, check out the link to my Patreon in this video's description. There you can see the tiers I have come up with. As usual, I'm always thankful for a like, comment, and especially a subscription. By the way, you can also join my Discord server if you'd like to hang out with me and my community. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the very next video. Take care everyone, stay safe, and cheers.